I'm going to take this, find me a point where I could pry it apart with. I'm going to pry it back a little bit so I can get this adjuster out. And I'm going to let that raise back in there. Now, these adjusters on this particular setup here have this little weird looking, I don't know what this is. This here, I'm assuming it keeps it from turning. I don't know. It only goes in there one way. Maybe you'll see. I don't know. So obviously you want to make sure that that's back together before you put this back on. Like I said, I know this is, well, it's not really seized. I am going to clean it before I put it back on, and I know that when it went together like that, like this here, with this end towards the back. And the reason you can probably be able, the easier way to remember that is where your hole in the back of the vacuum plate is. It's obviously going to be in line with this. So we'll get this out of the way, and we'll attempt to get this return spring here off. I'm not sure if you can see that or not. We are going to do the best we can when it comes to recording this because I'm using my phone, so I'm not 100% sure how these return springs, oh okay, they just kind of somewhat hook in there. Well, at this point it would be at its lowest spring pressure. And the reason I say that is because the adjuster's out of there, there's nothing holding the brakes apart now. Now you do have, and you can barely see it back here, you see that little piece of metal there, that's the actual emergency brake cable. Now, I can't find my adjustable wrench that I was looking for. So we're gonna, this isn't gonna work. I'm going to do this in a way that probably shouldn't be done, because odds are that spring is going to come flying back really quickly. We're going to do it anyways because I need to get this done. Wasn't too bad. I guess you could just pry back behind it. As long as it's adjusted all the way down, it should be good. You do the same thing to this side here. Now it's bolted in, I believe, down the bottom. I'll have to look. So that part shouldn't be too bad. So let me move my seat. Take a little closer look as to what I got going on down here. Alright, it's not bolted in at the bottom. It actually will come up as soon as I get that spring back far enough. Yeah. It's supposed to come up, but yeah. It's proven to be a little bit more difficult than I anticipated. Pull that shoe out. I don't know if you can see that or not. There really wasn't much left. It's pretty, I can bend that piece there and pretty much break it off. Yeah, definitely needed some brakes. Pull this side back, pull it out. Now it's still attached. Down here it's still attached to the emergency brake cable. I'll get that in a moment. This here, pops off of there. There's a little lip down that sits down in there, and you can see the way that thing's shaped. It's kind of a, you know, the pressure will hold it there. I'm doing it this way because I think it's going to be a lot easier once I get the brakes up in there to maybe get this back on. Otherwise, I'm going to have to fight with the brakes in order to get that back on first. So, got that part cleaned out. Clean a little area here. And we'll move you guys back a little bit. Okay, so probably won't be able to see this, but down inside here there's a little tab. You might be able to see it. Press that down, and while it's pressed down, my hand's in the way. You're gonna push your parking brake cable down. Now your cable comes out. Well, the cable lays down there and the spring comes out. I get the funniest feeling that's going to be a bear to get back together. But that part's done. Contact points. So, where the brakes itself touch. Alright, you can kind of sort of see them. There's one here. There's one over here. There's a couple down the bottom. I'd use some brake clean, try to wire brush them down a little bit. But yeah, you're gonna want to make sure that your boots ain't leaking on your wheel cylinder. Had a brain fart for a second there. You're not gonna actually notice the leak on the boot. What you're looking for is there's no fluid coming out of the boot. If there is, then that means that cylinder is bad and there's a leak inside that cylinder. Most of them don't pop off that easily. You have to pry them off, and I wouldn't recommend, if it doesn't look like it's been leaking, to not do that at all, because you could damage this, which is a dust boot, and it keeps the contaminants out of there so that you don't end up having a leak when it gets into that seal. So we're going to get that cleaned up real quick. Get that all cleaned up. You're going to put a little bit of grease on those spots. They make a specific stuff for it. Can't think of the name of it now, but anyways, when you put that back on there, you'll basically you'll install everything in the reverse order that you took it off. That's kind of really the way it goes. With anything, when you take something apart, you kind of put it back together in this, in an opposite order. But we'll get this starting going back together. Okay, I'm gonna go clean this off at the workbench real quick. You're going to want to adjust this, I'd say pretty much all the way in until you get the brakes in there, and then you can kind of adjust it outward until it touches the brakes. Your main adjustment, there's two ways of doing it. One is the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to put the drum on there, I'm going to spin it, and then keep adjusting it until I hear just a slight, not a lot, but just a very minute drag to it. So every time you step on the brakes, it'll readjust it. But the other way to do it, and the way the books read, you should measure the outside of your drum, which is on the ground there. Or, I'm sorry, measure the inside diameter of the drum, and set your brakes just under that dimension. That way you can slide the drum on there, and then adjust it from there. I don't have the right tool for that right now, so I'm doing it the way most people probably would have done it. Well, now that all the parts are clean, I'm going to put this back together. I'll put a little bit of grease on the threads here, and put a little bit of grease down in here. That way, because it goes all the way through, it'll kind of get onto the threads, as well as grease the end of that up. Alright, time to put this back together. First things first, you need to find which brake it is for the emergency brake, which will be this side here. Never had to do one like this, so not a clue how it's going to work. Kind of a learning experience for both of us. Never done one, so. Alright, now, I don't know if you could see it or not. Well, the parking brake cable back in there is a really, well, it's kind of a horrible design, I guess, in a way. And it was kind of a pain. Found another issue I don't really like, and that is, I like the older style ones to where you put those pins in there and it holds it in place.